Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the wild journey of Amazon. We're going to explore exactly how Jeff Bezos took a really, simple idea and, against some pretty massive odds, built an absolute trillion-dollar empire. It's a story of calculated risk, visionary thinking, and how one guy permanently changed global commerce. So let's just dive right in. I want you to put yourself in this scenario for a second. The year is 1994. You have a highly prestigious, high-paying job on Wall Street. You're set. You have a super clear career path. Would you literally walk away from all that security to start a business in your garage in a completely unproven market? I mean, most people back then viewed the early internet as a total fad. But Jeff Bezos, well, he was willing to risk everything to prove them wrong. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this staggering figure right here, 2,000%. While everyone else was busy ignoring the early internet, Bezos saw that its usage was just exploding by more than 2,000% a year. He let that data drive him. So after systematically researching potential products to sell online, he landed on books. Why? Simply because there were millions of titles in existence. Way, way more than any physical brick-and-mortar store could ever dream of holding. But how do you actually convince yourself to jump into the unknown like that? Well, Bezos relied on a pretty powerful mental model, something he calls the regret minimization framework. It essentially boils down to asking yourself one question. When I'm 80 years old, will I regret not trying this? And for him, the answer was a resounding yes. He knew for sure he'd regret missing out on the internet gold rush. That conviction was so strong, actually, that his parents invested their entire life savings into his idea, fully acknowledging that there was a very high chance of failure. So like practically every legendary tech startup, Amazon began in a humble garage. It was not glamorous, not at all. The early team processed every single order manually. They literally sat on the floor packing boxes, and Bezos himself was the one initially driving those packages to the post office. But even amidst all that early startup chaos, he instilled one absolutely crucial core philosophy, and that was customer obsession. He firmly believed that if they just provided the absolute best buying experience, the growth would naturally follow. And you know what? That intense focus became their ultimate competitive advantage. But hey, no empire is built without a major crisis, right? Just as Amazon was really gaining traction, the dot-com bubble completely burst. We're talking hundreds of startups vanishing literally overnight. Billions of dollars wiped out. Experts everywhere were predicting Amazon's total collapse. Their stock absolutely plummeted, and the media, they had a field day. They started mockingly calling the company Amazon.bomb, seriously questioning if they were even going to survive the year. Notice the stark contrast in mindsets here. Over on the left, you see the competitors who were just panicking as the market crashed. They scrambled, they slashed costs, and they basically focused purely on survival. But then look at the right side. That's Bezos' approach. He absolutely refused to panic. While everyone else pulled back, Amazon doubled down on innovation, pushing their boundaries even further. That single divergence in strategy, that is exactly what saved them. And their innovation took the form of really aggressive expansion. They had this grand vision of becoming the everything store. They wanted to move way beyond books and add electronics, toys, clothing, and eventually, literally nearly anything you could imagine. At the time, people thought this vision was just laughable. No way they could pull it off. But Bezos completely understood that the underlying architecture of the internet allowed for infinite shelf space. Now, most people mistakenly think Amazon won the game purely because of their website, but their actual secret weapon? It was a relentless physical logistics network. The truth is, a fancy website was totally useless without a back-end operation that could actually deliver on its promises. So they built a massive, mind-bogglingly complex machine that their rivals simply found impossible to replicate. Let's break that down. While competitors were just trying to keep the lights on, Amazon was quietly pouring billions, yes, billions, into physical warehouses, entirely new delivery systems, and massive digital infrastructure. By combining really sophisticated data analytics, the kind that predicts what you want to buy before you even click, with a world-class physical footprint, they built an unassailable moat. By the time their competitors actually woke up and noticed what was happening, it was way too late to catch up. And then Bezos made a move that honestly confused almost everyone. I mean, why on earth would an online everything store suddenly start selling cloud computing services? Offering server space and digital infrastructure to other businesses just seemed like a massive, unnecessary distraction from their core retail model. Well, it wasn't a distraction at all. It was actually a stroke of absolute genius, which we now know as Amazon Web Services, or AWS. See, Amazon had to build this massive tech infrastructure just to keep their own store running during peak times. Then they realized, hey, we can take that enormous internal cost and turn it into a product by simply renting out our excess capacity. Fast forward, and AWS ended up powering thousands of global companies, generating billions of dollars, and completely altering Amazon's entire financial trajectory. It's a real game changer. Let's move to and see how this all builds together on the timeline, because the sheer improbability of this journey really becomes clear. From manually packing books in a garage in '94, to surviving the brutal dot-com crash, to the totally unexpected pivot into AWS in the 2000s. Each of these bold phases perfectly laid the foundation for the next massive leap, bringing us directly to today's trillion-dollar global empire. And this brilliantly illustrates how that momentum is still going strong today. Amazon is no longer just retail, and they're not just cloud computing. They are dominant players in entertainment streaming, they are pioneers in artificial intelligence, and they're seamlessly integrating into our smart homes and even healthcare systems. That little online bookstore evolved into a sprawling tech giant that literally dictates global consumer behavior. So what does this all mean for us? What are the actionable takeaways here for you as focused learners? Well, Amazon's success was built systematically on 5 core pillars: long-term thinking to ignore the daily noise, customer obsession above all else, constant innovation, calculated risk-taking using frameworks like regret minimization, and finally, relentless execution to actually build the physical infrastructure. These aren't just Amazon's rules, they're principles you can absolutely apply to your own ventures. If there is one overarching business lesson to pull from this whole story, it's this. While most people and competitors are out there chasing quick wins and obsessing over quarterly earnings, Bezos focused intensely on the decades ahead. The lesson here is wonderfully simple, but I'll admit incredibly hard to execute. Short-term thinking creates small results. Long-term thinking creates empires. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. Think back to 1994. Think about that dusty garage and that massive leap of faith. The next time you effortlessly place a one-click order online, remember that every single great empire begins with one bold decision. So I have to ask, what bold decision are you putting off right now that your 80-year-old self will absolutely regret not taking? Think about it. Take the leap. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.